Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, bringing you every song these guys recorded in the studio that I can get my hands on, one at a time, all with the endorsement of the band. How cool is that? Damn cool. Speaking of pretty damn cool things, this song that we're working on today, we're going to go through it piece by piece, is called Ghost of the Ocean. I love that title. You know, it evokes so many visuals all at once, and it makes me think of so many different things. For some reason, interestingly, maybe this was just a subconscious thing, but while I was working earlier today, there's times when I can really just have, my brain kind of shut off and do my thing. And there's other times when I really have to focus and I can't have any extraneous things going on. But today I had a little bit of time where I could just kind of shut my brain off. And so I had Pirates of the Caribbean on and was listening to that while I was doing some promotion. And I don't know, maybe that was just kind of a subconscious thing because I knew I was going to be recording the show today. But obviously, so I'm thinking, these really ridiculous big ships and that lost person that fell in the water and their ghost that haunts the ocean. That's kind of the visual that I have going into this song. But it really could be anything at all. It could be the ghostly memory of the beach that you used to go to every day of the summer that you spent that meant so much to you in your childhood. I mean, it could really be so many things. But I love the title because it's intriguing, but it doesn't direct you so much that you know exactly what it is. It lets you kind of imagine whatever it is that you connect with in that moment. So pretty cool title, and I'm anxious to dig into this song. Let's just do it. Here is Ghost of the Ocean by Uriah Heep. This song gives absolutely zero fucks about any kind of warm-up. It just takes you right into the action. I love it. Love it. And it's hardcore, that beat that Russell's playing. I talked a lot during the albums with Lee Kerslake where I said he wasn't very much of a ride cymbal player. It wasn't his go-to. He did a little bit more of that on the last couple of albums, but it just wasn't his main thing to play. And that's clearly not the case with Russell. Russell goes to it quite a bit and more what I would expect. Most drummers that play rock music or harder rock music, especially during certain parts, will tend to go to the ride cymbal and change things up from the hi-hat. But this is a great opening beat. Love what he's playing. It's just that, hey, we're playing a song, get up and listen or move around or mosh or dance or whatever you're going to do. But you got to jump in and feel it. That's the way that this song starts. And of course, it's great playing from Mick. We still got that same balance. The sound of the album has been very consistent, but it's a really cool intro. I love the melody. I love the beat of it. I love the rhythm. It's got a great feel to it. And it just comes out of the gate like a bull just waiting to stomp somebody.
A ghost of the ocean tells of the women of the sea. They ran from oppression in the forgotten history. No.
So we've gone from the guitar and drums dominating the sound now to really the drums still being there, but kind of backing down a little bit, just being simple. And the guitar is almost gone. And we've got the Hammond sound filling everything in really nicely. We do have some presence from guitar, though. We get to have one power chord that really just kind of comes in and says, hey, I'm still here and you're not getting rid of me. It's just a very powerful chord. and really just kind of comes in and shakes the world of the song. But Bernie sounds great. I love that vocal and keyboard combination, because a keyboard really is kind of a vocal instrument, or can be a vocal instrument. And here it's kind of being rhythmic and a little bit vocal at the same time. And then Bernie on top of that sounds fantastic. Nothing is overriding anything else for sound. It's really nice. Love the chorus. I love the way that the vocals sound when they're thickened up like that. It's really, really powerful. And, Bernie's got such a great voice as it is to lead that charge. Just, it just adds so much more to the way he sounds on the verse. And, choruses are meant to be elevated above the verse anyway, so it really works perfectly, but it just sounds so damn good. And then, the stuff that Mick is playing there, in the second half of that, going back to the opening, the whole thing just sounds heavier. It sounds much heavier because the bass is now dominating in there as well. And it's a really amazing piece going from that part of the chorus then into the part that's going to bring us back to the verse. But it just sounds so much heavier than the intro. And the intro already was pretty heavy. But we were missing that bass element, that really powerful bass guitar from Trevor. So now that we've added that back in, it just makes the song 10 times better.
Fortune, always to be prepared to die. Blood on a knife edge, flag of the sea, Lord flying high. No innocence, no leader to defend, no God, no government, and it's hard to believe they were riders on the sea.
That is a killer bass groove that we're getting from Trevor on the bass during the verse there. And then he's kicking it up in the chorus as well. Just fantastic groove. I love a good bass groove, especially as a drummer, or I think just kind of a fan of rock and roll. A good bass groove can really help a song in so many ways. There's nothing wrong with playing root notes. There's nothing wrong with playing straight eighth notes, or, however you want to do it. But there's just something about a song that has a real active killer bass groove. It doesn't have to be all over the place. It doesn't have to be up and down the scales or a bunch of crazy notes or flashy, but just a good doon, 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 doon. That kind of a bass rhythm just can really add a lot of dynamics to a song, as you could hear a perfect example of that in the verse here. And man, the song just keeps getting better and better for me. This is such a cool and different part for Uriah Heep. This is a little more reggae feeling, really. I mean, the beat on the drums is very different. It really is kind of a Stuart Copeland kind of thing. And then you listen to the off-time accents from the vocals coming in, and with that nice higher harmony sound in there, really sound, not the high harmony, but the higher harmony, really sounds good. And it's very different. It's an intriguing part. The riff itself, just listening to the guitars come in and then kind of fading a little bit out, is really intriguing. It draws me in to a feeling of kind of mystery.
A world of action, strong and free, adventure, war, and loyalty. The mermaid tyrant loves to fight. She ties a noose and pulls it.
I love how clean and dead those stops are. Perfect. Nobody's going over the edge of the stop time there. They're all in sync with each other, and it's just so clean. You don't normally hear that. Usually you would hear like the squeak of a guitar in there, or you would hear maybe the tail of the reverb from the note coming through, but it is just nice and solid and clean. Well played. And that part was heavier than the last part that I said was heavier, because now Russell's playing full double bass drum, and also he's riding on a crash cymbal. So, we've talked about that many times, how that can kind of cut out a little bit of the frequencies. This is a little bit louder than the previous song that I talked about him doing that on, but it still works. I think you can still hear Mick pretty well. Doesn't really seem to be intruding on anything that needs to be heard or needs to be paid attention to at this point. Sounds really good, but this is, I would have to say, so far of all the songs I reviewed, I think this sounds the heaviest of anything that they've done. And, you guys can disagree. You can all pick your own song, whatever, that's fine. But, we don't get a lot of double bass drum in Uriah Heep because the main drummer for the band has been Lee Kerslake, who was a single kick drummer. Didn't really seem to be a double kick pedal player. And I don't really think that they were that big. There weren't that many of them around at this time. So, it was something that you're only going to get so heavy of a sound unless you're using a 16-inch floor tom to compensate for the second bass drum. And he didn't really do that a lot. He used his floor toms for fills. He did play on them a little bit, but not in the way of compensating for a second bass drum. So this is going to give you a heavier sound. And plus, Russell's drums are EQ'd in a way, and I'm mainly talking about his bass drums here. They're EQ'd in a way that's getting a lot of punch, but also a lot of just that bottom end push. So you're getting a little bit of both, and it really sounds good. But when you're playing double bass, especially at a tempo like this, it's really going to push the song and drive it and be really equally as important as your distorted guitar typically is in a song, like in a rock song or a metal song, because they really drive the song with the guitar as well. So it's a fascinating sound. It's certainly something different for Uriah Heep, something we've not heard much of. But yeah, I would have to say so far, heaviest parts I've heard in a song yet.
Asylum, somewhere to hide on no man's land. Ships in the harbor, waiting to hear the battle plan. No innocence, no leader to defend. No God, no government, and it's hard to believe there were riders on the sea. No innocence, no leader to defend. No God, no government, and it's hard to believe there were riders on the sea.
And Mick bringing us back those fill-ins that I love so much. And his guitar just sounds so good on this album, doesn't it? It just is great for a good, solid, hard rock, heavy metal album, whatever you want to call it. I don't know where the actual line is between hard rock and heavy metal, to be honest. I'm sure there's some decibel level or something, but to me, it pretty much blends into the same thing. If a song sounds heavy, a song sounds heavy. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And I'm just going to say that this is a good heavy metal song. I'll call it heavy metal. And I love his tone on this, though. It's kind of raw, but really refined at the same time. I love when he's doing those note bends. That's something he's very well known for. And it sounds really good, especially in this song. Just everything just blends well. The organ to me is the most interesting because you hear the organ and you feel the organ. It is that main blanket that keeps the song warm, but you can't really define what the organ is playing. And I kind of feel like, no, I don't even kind of feel, I feel like that is the big thing that has happened in this band over the course of the last few albums. There's been many times I've said, I can't hear what Phil's doing. And that's exactly why. It's just blended in so well. It's meant to be felt and heard, but not heard to where you can define it. It's just meant to be heard and enjoyed. And the songs, if you muted the organ track, I guarantee these songs would sound very hollow. So Phil has a presence, but it's just with all the, between the distorted guitars, riding on the crash cymbal, everything else, it's already a rich and full song. So when you add the keyboards, they're just at frequencies where they don't particularly stand out. If he was playing an octave higher, you could definitely tell everything he was playing, but it's just where he's at. It just blends in so well that you can't really dial in all the specifics of it, but you feel the presence of it. Well, the nice thing is that when these guys went on tour to promote this album, they didn't really have to think about how they were going to end a song because almost every song so far has had a concert style ending to it. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just very different for the band, something that they haven't done a whole lot of, but certainly works. They're very powerful endings. And it's nice not to have to rework some parts of every song to fit the stage format. But for those of you guys who were listening to the episode where I talked about the China cymbal, what Russell was playing here at the end and riding up to that very end, that was a China cymbal. It has that very swishy sort of sound to it, but very cool. I like the change of that. I really like the heaviness of his toms at the end. You could hear every tom very clearly, the tonality of it, the depth of it, how rich it sounds. And I love that with Lee on so many of the albums. His toms just didn't come through or they sounded dull. These are very sharp, very bright, and I really love that for this style of music. Now, I'm not saying that Lee's sound was bad. On some of those albums, that mellower sound actually really fit what the band was doing. But for an album like this, if you're going to hit it hard and heavy, those toms should be crystal clear. You should be able to hear every note that he's playing, and you certainly can, as we can definitely identify at the end of the song. Love the ending, thought it was very powerful. Overall, this song is very powerful. It's just a good, hard driving song that really just kicks your ass right from the beginning. And I dig it, man. I definitely dig it. I hope you guys did too, because it's a cool song and it's a great way to continue our week. We're almost to the end of the week once again. Tomorrow will be Friday, the end of the week for a lot of people who listen to the show. For those of you who have more flexible weekends, I'm sure that there's a day off coming for you before you know it. You guys take care. Have a great one, and we'll see you in tomorrow's show. Cheers. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magicians Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!